I thought we'd start it off with something from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
This document right here is the document that details your very first recording session for Columbia Records, right down there,
Right.
dated April 17th, 1950. They spelled your name wrong, by the way, on there. they only gave you one T at the end. But yeah, you recorded 4 songs on that date. And I think you told me
Mm-hmm.
earlier that 4 songs was kind of the standard for a recording date in those days.
Yeah, you would. In those days, you would do 3 or 4 songs in 3.5 hours
Mhm.
with a huge orchestra live, and had tremendous support from Columbia Records.
Mhm.
I was just starting out, and the first song I did was a Harry Warren song called The Boulevard of Broken Dreams, which I still sing today in person.
It's incredible because that is, according to this, the very first song you recorded for Columbia Records, and I would imagine
Right.
not a lot of artists have such a monster hit with their very first song in the studio.
Right, it was a great start for me. It allowed me to get booked around the world for the first time in my life, and I was
Mhm.
thrilled. And it just kind of, at that moment, I felt like I was hitting the top of the world, you know, to
Oh yeah.
actually get engagements and in Cleveland and Akron and Chicago, and it was the beginning of my touring, which I do now all over the world.
Now, who was the conductor for this first session?
Marty Manning. Marty Manning was a wonderful person. Of all the people I've ever met, looking back at my whole catalog, every time I had a big hit record, it was really Marty Manning that wrote the orchestrations and just knew what to do behind me to make it work.
Mm-hmm. He was, and we just noticed this before when we were looking through, but this is a copy. This is an original 45 release of I Left My Heart in San Francisco from 1962, which was 12 years after this first session, but once again, right there, arranged and conducted by
Marty Manning.
Marty Manning. So incredible, he was with you that long and made so many great recordings.
And what a wonderful person he was.
Yeah, wow. We have another sort of weird little item from very early in your career. This is sort of a strange little format. This is a double EP from 1953 featuring 8 songs, two songs on each side of a 45 record. But I mainly bring this to you because this not only has Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but it also has Because of You, which was #1. I think it was your first #1 hit. It was #1 for 10 weeks, which is just
Right,
mind-boggling.
on Billboard,
On
yes.
Billboard, yeah. And so just a monster hit. And I think Cold Cold Heart is also on this, and it's incredible that you had such a big hit with Cold Cold Heart. I mean, you've never been thought of as a country singer, but you made that one your own.
That's good. Out of 8 records that on this album, there's 4 that became million-selling records.
Which ones are they?
There was Cold Cold Heart.
Mm-hmm.
There was Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Because of
Oh,
You?
Because
There
of You,
it
right
is,
up
yeah,
top.
Because
Uh-huh.
of You and I Won't Cry Anymore.
Oh yeah, I won't cry anymore.
I Won't Cry Anymore was a very strong semi-hit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs,
Wow.
and great standards. Like Alec Wilder wrote this song While We're Young, which is a beautiful song.
Mm.
So it was my beginning of just doing good quality music.
Yeah, right from the very beginning. I also brought one more record that I wanted to show you, and I brought it. You've made. I mean, I hate to say that I have a favorite record because you've made so many records, and I love so many of them. But this is maybe my favorite Tony Bennett record.
It's
of all
my
time.
favorite too.
I remember reading that this was a favorite of Count Basie's and Frank Sinatra's, and this is just It's a masterpiece, and
Well, thank you.
yeah. Do you remember the song selection or the making?
Yeah,
of
well,
it?
you know, the Shadow of Your Smile, and then maybe September, which is now a great standard. Days of Wine and Roses, Pawnbroker, Second Time
Second
Around,
Time Around.
Smile,
Smile, which is
The Gentle Rain,
yeah.
Emily, and It's Never Too Late, beautiful song, and Girl Talk, written by Neil Hefti.
Oh, Neil Hefti.
So there were, between Johnny Mandel and Neil Hefti, there was some beautiful orchestrations here. The Pawnbroker was written and arranged and conducted by Quincy Jones.
Wow.
So all great guys and great instrumentalists like Al Cohn and Zoot Sims, great jazz artists that played on it for me. So it's
Yeah.
really one of my favorite albums.
You know, I think I may have forgotten to say the title of the album, which is, it's called the Movie Song Album. And lots of great jazz performers. And
It's in a whole new world. I think it's unbelievable what's going on. I can't get over how much it does, actually.
So there's your book in the library of the Nook. So the Nook is made for people who really want to control the experience more themselves and have particular preferences about reading.
This is nice.
We can show you one of your videos here. So here's your Only Sing Good Songs chapter, and if you tap the video.
And the first thing they said to me in every class, never compromise. Only do quality. And that became my premise. When I went out into the world, the music world was so different than what the teachers were telling us to do. It was all very commercial, and this is such a great instrument. They really came up with something on this. I love it. Beautiful. It's very entertaining and it's very educational for everybody, and it's never going to stop people just reading books. It's amazing. Game of this importance than the magnificent skylines of the city by the bay. And tonight, it's a battle of two rich historic franchises, two passionately diehard fan bases, and two downright good football teams. The Green Bay Packers bring not only their tradition, but one of the most high-powered, relentless offenses in the NFL.
In the end zone for the touchdown and a dagger!
While the 49ers come with the brute toughness and the determined attitude of a team that has been so close before.
These guys will smash you. Justin Smith's gonna get him and sack him.
It's sure to be quite a battle tonight, with everything left on the field, including their hearts. I left my heart in San Francisco.
Just like Tony Bennett, 49er fans were left with broken hearts in San Francisco. That was
Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight.
Tony Bennett's first release since the Grammy-winning #1 album Cheek to Cheek with Lady Gaga.
Me.
Tony Bennett and eminent jazz pianist Bill CHARLAP celebrate the music of renowned composer Jerome KERN.
Look for the silver lining and try to find the sunny side of life. Look for the silver lining when a cloud appears in the blue. Remember,
Tony, this album came out so beautifully.
well, thanks to you. I believe it's the first album I ever made where every song is an A-side.
Thanks to you.
You play so wonderful, you know. You have such a great group.
Thank you,
So
Tony.
talented.
Heart full of joy and gladness.
It's different. And what I like about it is that I know that no matter what year it's played, this album, it's never going to sound old-fashioned.
No,
It's always going to sound like it just happened now.
it's forever music.
And try to find the sunny side of life.
It's amazing to think that Kern was born in 1885,
Wow.
15 years before the turn of the century.
He influenced George Gershwin.
Yes,
Right.
he influenced Gershwin, he influenced Harold Arlen. Kern, in fact, influenced all the major songwriters. He really showed the way, you know, his craftsmanship and his glorious melodic lines. All of them looked to Kern. Berlin, Gershwin, Porter, Arlen, Rogers, all of them.
That was a great period. It was the beginning of talkies. And they grabbed Fred Astaire out of Broadway and
Yes,
said, come on, we want you to make movies.
yes.
And all those songs were written. Everybody calls it the Great American Songbook. I call it the Fred Astaire Songbook. He introduced all of those songs.
There were so many songs written for Astaire by Gershwin, Kern, Porter.
But many years
Oh.
later, the great Sinatra, he made the most beautiful performances.
Or with Kenny Washington and Peter Washington at the bass and drums, you're always part of the band. It's not like you're singing on top of what we're doing. In fact, we're all interacting with each other all of the time. You're a part of the rhythm section, just like Charlie Parker would be part of Max Roach and Thelonious Monk and Curly Russell. And that, to me, makes you a jazz musician. But I hear Bing Crosby, I hear Fred Astaire, I hear Louis Armstrong, I hear Billie Holiday, I hear Jimmy Durante, I hear Judy Garland. All of these things come together, and I hear an awful lot of Tony Bennett, all the way through all of that.
Well, like yourself, I mean, there's certain things, the way you play, I could sing over that, but I wouldn't dare do that, because I know that what you're going to come up with feeds me to come up with the next phrase.
Lovely.
Jerome Kern said something about Irving Berlin once, which was, Irving Berlin is not part of American popular song. Irving Berlin is American popular
That's
song.
right.
And you know what? That's what I say about you.
Wow.
Tony Bennett is not part of American popular song.
That's an extreme compliment.
Tony
coming.
Bennett is American popular
Irving
song.
Berlin, my God.
Look tonight.
I've never made an album that's so complete, thanks to your wonderful group
Well, thank you, Tony.
and your artistry. 35 years from now, 50 years from now, it's going to sound like we just recorded it.
That's true. That's true.
And that's what's beautiful about the album. It'll last forever.
Side of life.